Lord God, we just come to you right now and we just thank you and praise you for this beautiful weather. Lord, we just thank you for how great you are and for choosing to love us enough to send your son. Lord, we just continue to have faith in you that you will continue to heal our land, Lord, and protect each and every one of us. We just ask a special blessing on every member of this county. Lord, I ask that you're with this commission, that you guide them and direct them and help them to make godly decisions. Lord, we just thank you for the men and women that continue to protect our great nation. We ask that you continue to put a hedge of protection around each and every one of them. We thank you for all of this in your son's precious name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Raise the flag, state of New Mexico, and here stand perfect nation, among the United States.
You what?
Okay. Approval of agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Approval of minutes from February 22nd, 2021 special meeting. Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. Public requests. Okay. Elected officials and department heads. Employee recognition. Ms. Souls. Okay. Well, that might help. At this time, we'd like to take a moment to recognize some of our employees from the county. The first one is Miss Carol Acosta Flores. She has worked 5 years for the county. She does special projects, indigent healthcare. Anthony Ortega, he works in our maintenance department. They work very hard to keep our buildings up and running. He has been with the county 3 years. And I've got to I'll find your pen. We have a couple members of our sheriff's office that are not here at this time. Daniel Bowen has been with the county 5 years, and Christian Townsend has been with the county 3 years. Our detention center, Ana Chavez. She has been with the county 1 year. You can bring your baby with you. Raquel Herrera Moreno, she has also been with the county 1 year. She works at our detention center. Jesus Lavalle, he is on vacation. He has been with the detention center 1 year. And these magnets are very strong, guys. They hold together. Lieutenant Shayla Ramsey has been with the detention center 5 years. Also with the detention center for 5 years is Sergeant Mary Griego.
Sergeant Daniel Rich has been with the detention center 1 year. Erica Sandoval has been with the detention center 1 year. And we have 3 road department guys who are not able to attend today. Carlos Borrego's been with the detention or with the road 3 years. Randy Coates has been with them 3 years, and Fabian Munoz has been there 1 year. So I would like to thank all of our employees. Without them, the county would not function. I need to turn it off.
On clerk's office. Mandy Park.
I have to talk about the NVRA. The County Board of Registration is going to point it at the mic. County Board of Registration is going to meet on the 10th, which is Wednesday of next week. That is part of a process to remove voter registration and do file maintenance for voter registration rolls and to clean those up. I sent you in your packet some information about that. We currently have 305 voters on the list for consideration for removal who are ineligible to vote due to change of residence. The voter registration file maintenance is often referred to as the purge board. The purge board can only remove inactive voters because of change of address. We can't just remove everybody because they don't participate. That would be nice. It'd be a much cleaner list, but that's not the law. So we currently have 591 inactive voters, but only 305 that are ineligible because of a change of address. So those are the ones we can consider to be removed. After the June primary, we processed 300, a little over 300 voter registrations and a little over 500 after the November general. Okay. After the June primary, we processed about 300 voter registrations, and after the general, we processed about 500. Most of those were party changes, or some of those were party changes, but the majority were change of address, because when they come to vote, we always request that they update their voter registration and make those changes. Even after all of those changes were made, we had almost 1,100 returned from the most recent election, the February election. We had almost 1,100 that were returned as undeliverable because ballots are not forwardable. So the start of the process is a mailer that goes out to everybody, and it goes in years that have a general election. A mailer goes out to everybody asking them to update their voter registration, and it goes from the Secretary of State's office, not from our office. So any of those that come back undeliverable, that's what triggers their removal. And then it doesn't happen for another 2 years. It happens in odd numbered years where they're removed, but it starts the prior year at the general election, or a whole cycle before. So what we're removing this year is people that in 2018 got a letter in the mail that said you need to update your address, and it was returned back to us as undeliverable. So the process takes a long time. But the members of the Purge Board are, they were appointed by you guys in June of 2019. They are Sharon Davis, Larry Smith, Tina Zook, and Tate Turnbow, and Pilar Moreno. Those 5 members make up the voter registration board. And they're going to meet next week to take off potentially all 305 of those voters. Does anybody have any questions about the process?
So they just send somebody a letter, and if they don't reply, then 2 years later it goes on? Is that what you said? Okay. So what if you get those and you realize that, okay, I know this person is still here and still lives there. Can you still keep them on, or do you have to take them off?
That's what they'll decide. If there is somebody that is still there, they can recommend that they be changed back to active status. But the other thing that keeps them on the list, if they were put on the list, because when the list was generated, it had about 1,100 people on it, and then we processed the 800 in the last 2 elections that they've updated their voter registration, and they've fallen off of the list, and they've become active again because they've updated their address, and now we know where they're at. These 305 that have not updated their address in the last 2.5 years, they're still on the list. But they also have not cast a ballot in that time. So if they didn't vote in 3 years, and there's been 5, 6, 7 opportunities in 3 years with school boards and generals and primaries, and even Fair Board. Fair Board will keep you active. As long as you cast a ballot for something, you remain active. But these people have changed their address and have not been active.
United States Postal Service, how often do they supply a report to the Secretary of State?
Once a month at the end of the month, each month. We do regular maintenance the rest of the time. Like if somebody comes to us and updates their registration just because they're on top of things, we update them. We update them if they get married, like when they come and ask for a marriage license, then they change their name, we remind them to update. We get a list of felony convictions about once a month as well, and we pull those people off the voter rolls if they've been convicted of a felony. That could change, but it's a legislative option this session that could change. But we also pull off anybody that has a published obituary, but we miss a few of those. A lot of people go to the hospital in Lubbock and their obituary is not published here, or they go to Houston for treatment at MD Anderson and pass away, and they don't ever return to Portales. So we miss a few of those, but basically we catch every obituary. We get a report from Wheelers, we get a report from Steed Todd and Muffley and several others around, and we pull those off each day. But these 305 are inactive and have moved, and that report either comes from the post office or the DMV or the Secretary of State's office. We also get reports from other states about monthly as well that say so-and-so has moved to our county and has registered here, but only about 20 of the 50 states participate in that program.
board been contacted and know that they are to meet on the 10th?
Yes, they have. I mailed a letter to each of those board members a week or so ago. I have not heard from anybody that wants to be excused. I have heard from Miss Davis. She said she will be there. The other 4 I haven't heard from yet, but the RSVP deadline is later this week. And if I don't hear from them, I'll call them again and remind them. And I'll probably text each one of them that morning and say, remember, we've got a big meeting today.
And when was this list sent by the Secretary of State? When did they send the last list?
We generated that report out of service on February 10th, but it hasn't changed, and it won't change between now and then because the list was generated in 18, and then as people come off of it.
It was generated in 18, but you got it this year, February 10th.
No, the people on the list, they got on the list in 18. The original letter was sent out to them in 18, and then everybody that was undeliverable was added to the list in 18, and then we pulled it most recently in 19 on February 10th of 21. But we've been maintaining updates to it ever since February of 18, no. June of 18.
But the list of people that might possibly be removed or suggested to be removed by the board, you received that information in February and 18 or the clerk's office. When did they receive that information?
February 10th. But we've been working from that list to clean up that list and to update people's voter registration ever since the list was generated.
Okay, and what do you do to work on it to clean it up?
We ask them to update their registration when they come to vote. If there's people on it that we just know that we see in town, like one of our previous treasurer office employees, she moved. She's on the list. We just send her a text and say, "Hey, can you update?" And she did. Some friends that are on the list that we know moved to Lubbock, we send them the same note saying, "Can you update your registration?" And they generally do.
So you're working on it. The clerk's office is working on it.
Yeah, we work on it
What is
constantly.
the function of the board there?
They're the only ones that can say, remove these people. We leave them as inactive voters with an incorrect address until they make an attempt to correct it or until the board says remove them.
Well, I've read through it's a lot of it's still confusing to me, and I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I think it's something that needs to be done, and I trust it. All these laws and regulations are no better than the person who is charged with the responsibility of implementing them. And I thank you for your work.
Thank you. We have a good office full of people that also think it's important that it be done. So when there are people on there that they know, they'll contact them and say, "Hey, you need to update your address." And even though we have a very transient population with a lot of ENMU students and a lot of military, we still know most of the voters that are on our rolls, and we can call them and say, "Hey, you need to update." But ultimately, it's up to the voter to do that. That's what it takes to make the rolls really clean.
This is a curious question. And I say that you're doing a fantastic job, and I personally appreciate it. In the last meeting, you reported we had one person voted on the bond that was deceased.
He didn't vote. His wife returned his ballot and informed us that he had passed away. And he had passed away.
Oh, you got one that was back. You had gotten one back, but they didn't vote.
Right. He did not vote. No. His wife returned his ballot and informed us that he was deceased.
Okay, thank you.
Mandy.
Thank you.
Okay, probate, Mr. Terry.
Good morning, Commissioners and Madam Chair. Since we took office in January, it's been pretty busy at the probate court. You know, we're bound as probate judges in the probate court by the judicial system of the state of New Mexico. So there's some things that you'll see me and some things that, you know, I'll excuse myself. But just wanted to give you a quick report. The probate court and office has been very busy. We did 7 in January. We have 3 active, and I had to send 3 upstairs for reasons that, you know, I don't want to discuss. But we've been very busy, very active at the probate court. I run on the agenda that I was the platform that I was going to make this a proactive office, and we are. One of the things that that I wanted to tell the commission and the general public and the press, if they're here, the legal resources for the elderly program. That's I had run on the intention that we would try to have some seminars for the elderly in Roosevelt County. If they're in low income and can't afford an attorney or don't have a will or have any type of legal questions that they want answered, we was going to put on some seminars. Well, the state, with the state bar and some other entities within the state, they're having some seminars throughout this year. Well, we've had 2 in January the 14th and the 23rd. We're going to have another one on March the 30th, April the 27th, May the 27th, and June the 24th. And the number, it's called the LREP, Legal Resources for the Elderly Program. The number is 1-800-876-6657. So if you have a loved one, a relative, a close friend that needs some questions about power of attorney, healthcare advice, probate advice, non-probate, like transfers of deeds on deaths. You know, if I die, my wife is still living, what happens to the deed and stuff. This is a great program at free of cost that the state provides to the residents of Roosevelt County to help them answer some of them questions. So I wanted just to tell you what the probate office is doing. We've answered a lot of calls, a lot of activity on the internet. Mandy has done a great job working with me. As you know, the probate has to be filed in the clerk's office. Mandy and I have a great relationship, and the girls are doing a really great job. She's done a great job, and I just wanted to let the commission and the public know the probate's here. We're going to be answering the phone and doing all we can to help the residents of Roosevelt County. And with that, I'll entertain any questions. And if not, well, if y'all have anything, just get with me one-on-one or whatever. But thank you for having me. Any questions? Good. Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Okay. Detention, Mr. Porter.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. The facility count today is 52. We have 11 female detainees and 41 male detainees. Currently, we're housing 3 detainees for other counties. The bookings for February was 47. The total number of releases in February was 52. Billing that was sent out, the city of Portales was billed $1,567.50. Union County was billed $5,850. Guadalupe County, $2,100. And adult probation and parole, $2,100, for a total of $11,617.50. Some of the other things that are going on at the detention center, we conducted 3 transports in the last month. One detainee was transported to Quay County Detention Center. We had another detainee that we transported to Chavez County Detention Center. And then we took 1 transport of 4 male detainees to the Department of Corrections. They are still working on our roof over the admin area, so we're hoping that they will be wrapping that up soon. We're still practicing COVID safe practices within the facility, still educating the detainees and the staff, going through, inspecting masks, making sure everybody has suitable equipment and protective equipment. We have started some repairs and repainting in our visitation area in anticipation that we may be opening it up soon. So we're trying to make sure everything's addressed in there that needs to be addressed. And I want to thank Gary and Anthony for completing the shower door for our booking area. We asked them to manufacture a sliding door for our booking area because sometimes some of our people come in a little intoxicated. And so that gives us an opportunity to allow them to shower and stay in that room. So their creativity and their work is greatly appreciated in the facility. With that, I wanted to kind of share some information with you guys as well, so it doesn't come out as a huge surprise at the end of the fiscal year. I've been working with Amber and with the attorneys throughout. We are currently being billed for housing juvenile detainees at a rate of about $7,500 a month each. As of recently, we now have 2 juvenile detainees that look like they will be in custody for an extended period of time, so that will go up to about $15,000 a month to house 2 juvenile detainees. So we're working with the courts, we're working with the district attorney's office to make sure that those processes are going as quick as they possibly can, but keeping it fair for them. But I just wanted you to be aware that we do have a housing bill for juveniles. It's typically not this large, but with the changes, Curry no longer houses juveniles, so we're having to house juveniles at other facilities. And the rates went up when some of the juvenile facilities in the state closed. And so that's what we are looking at right now. I don't foresee this changing very soon because both of these individuals are charged with pretty serious crimes. So we may be looking at that for several months. So with that, I will stand for any questions.
It was a big deal. It was a big deal with NBC. I remember like that. In the national news, the fact that they shut down so many facilities that have, all these other institutions that are holding, the day up, adding or replacing. I don't want to say intentionally, but it's kind of advantage of the situation or trouble to
Well, a lot of the facilities did increase their daily rate. It's not uncommon because the cost of everything goes up just like everything else in the market. And then it is a supply and demand, and unfortunately. There's only so many beds in the state of New Mexico anymore, especially when you start talking about our side of the state and where we're located. The closest we have right now is Lee County. After that, you start going down towards Doñana, and then you start going back over towards Albuquerque. So really, we're in a spot where when local law enforcement engages or has to arrest to incarcerate a juvenile, they're either taking them to Lee County or Doñana. So those prices did go up. Now, juveniles have always been more expensive to house than adults because of some of the requirements. And some of those things are the staff to detainee ratio. The state mandates that you can only have a certain number of detainees to staff. For example, a 10-to-1 ratio. You can have 10 juvenile detainees, but you have to have 1 officer for every 10. And the adult capacity, it's very different than that. The recommended ratios are like more to 1 to 50. So the staffing is higher for even a lesser number of people. So to house that number of detainees and run a facility, you're still going to have a lot of staff. You can't share a building with them typically, so they have to have their own standalone facility, which means they're going to have their 3 or 4 shifts, depending on what rotations they're on, to man that building, whether there's 2 or 10 or 20 people in there. So it's just a necessary operation right now, but it's an expensive operation because of some of the requirements. Thank you.
Healthcare, Mr. Costa. Flores.
Good morning, Commissioners, Madam Chair. If we may go into indigency, please.
Dennis, how do you vote? Yes.
We have 14 claims and for $9,260.56. I recommend 8 for approval for $4,374.56. I recommend 6 for disapproval, $4,886. For Fedco emergency physicians, I had 5 claims that I recommend for disapproval. A duplicate claim, a past timely filing, 2 detainees were not detained at this date of service and no application on file. 1 patient was for Portales Police Department. For Roosevelt General Hospital, there was 5 for approval and 1 disapproved for the patient was not a detainee at this date of service. Portales Ambulance, 1 claim and it was approved. I stand for questions.
I'll second. Dennis, how do you vote? Yes. Okay, come out of indigent. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'm also.
I'll second. Got a motion second. Dennis? Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Road, Mr. Lovato.
I can operate equipment, but I can't turn on a microphone. Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. We've been doing routine maintenance, blading. We're hoping to get to cutting some trees here pretty quick. As the weather warms up, fixing potholes. The Sagamore project is going really well. We got held back about 2 weeks with that cold front come through. So we were hoping to be done this last week, but we didn't make it. So I'm hoping everything goes through and we'll be done next week with everything through the Sagamore Wind Farm project. After that, we'll be starting our LGRF 2021. And then as soon as we receive some contracts from the government, we'll move on to some other projects also. But that's all I got for now, if y'all have any questions.
You.
I'm gonna leave it on.
Safety Committee Annual Report. Miss.
Good morning again, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. Our Safety Committee operates on the firm belief that the county employees are its most valuable resource and that our county is committed to work safely and follow the loss prevention policy. In 2020, our safety report, in 2018, we had 21 findings, one of which at that time had not been fixed, but it is now completed. 2019, we had 13 findings, all of which were completed. 2020, we had 14 findings. We have 2 waiting to be completed, and those are waiting on roofs to be repaired from the hail damage. We have our RAP program, our risk awareness program, of which all of the departments completed their training in 2020. We were awarded the RAP award from New Mexico counties. In 2020, we had reduced our multi-line claims by 76%, and law enforcement claims were reduced by 64%. So I stand for any questions. Anybody? Thank you. I'd like to present this to you, Madam.
Thank you. Okay. Did you see it?
Sir.
Um,
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Okay, moving on. Manager, Miss Hamilton.
Yes, Madam Chair, good morning, and Commissioners. Just a couple of quick updates. As y'all are very well aware, we are moving along in the session. We have about 3 weeks left. It is very hard to keep up with everything that is going through, as y'all know, due to the extreme lack of access for the public. There's been interruptions for streaming. It's very difficult to participate. With the Senate, it's a much different process with the House. So we're trying to work through it the best we can. We've been logging in and making those comments when those bills are being heard. The most recent, of course, was House Bill 4 was in SPAC and Senate Public Affairs and Health. Senator Engel did a great job in being there and trying to help ensure that our voices are being heard. We did testify on that bill. They passed it out of committee without a recommendation. It was read on the floor yesterday. It is referred also to Senate Judiciary, so we are anticipating that it can be heard in Judiciary as soon as Wednesday. That's one of those bills that the powers that be want to see, and so as we've seen, if they like the bill, they want the bill. If it's their bill, it's moving right along, and if it's anything else, it's not. And so that's where it's really been challenging. I know for a lot of our local legislators and talking with them of just the delays that have happened with the limited sessions for the floor as well as the committees and everything. And so we're just watching that closely. We'll continue to be engaged. We anticipate to again support. Last time just sharing, and again, all of our legislators have copy of all of your resolutions. So anything that you are supporting or standing in opposition with has been shared with our legislative representation. We're continuing to watch several other bills as they work their way through. The same day that House Bill 4 was passed out of SPAC, Senate Bill 227 was, but there's additional amendments coming in that. One of those, as you'll recall, that was Senator Sadia Lopez bill, where she was looking to require additional reporting on use of force and use of deadly force, I should say, while in custody. And one of the concerns was that the counties were being held responsible for the fiscal aspect for every municipality within, and she understood that was a concern and it did not make sense. So she had promised in committee that that was one of those changes that was coming. So there are still a lot of bills that are moving, but of course now with it winding down to about 3 weeks, we're really paring down our list and just trying to see what's really moving and what isn't and what has a chance of getting through. And so we will continue to monitor it closely. I think New Mexico counties was right at just over 300 bills that they were monitoring. We were much closer to the 200 mark. So we will continue to monitor those, and I'll send out those reports to y'all. An updated report this week after we kind of pare some things down and see what really has a chance to move and what we need to be paying attention to. But we're watching the law enforcement closely. We are not watching the marijuana bills as closely at this point because there is a lot of discussion going on and a lot of amendments, but there are 4 or 5 that are really trying to come together in terms of the sponsorship and find some kind of compromise. Whether that's going to happen or not, we don't know. There's a lot of speculation both ways, and so we choose to just watch rather than speculate and try to just make sure that we have our homework. Both of the true bills that we're looking at do have that local county option for y'all to be able to implement. So we know that there will be additional responsibilities come in as a result of this potential legislation. So our job is to just make sure that the counties are taking care of, and just we will continue to keep you informed on that. Other than that, of course, there's a lot of other bills, but I would stand for any questions, or if y'all had anything that y'all had seen that you wanted us to pay close attention to. Thank you.
You. Commissioners, does anybody have anything?
I have a quick announcement, Madam Chair. You want to give me a second floor?
Certainly.
Yeah. So, thanks. Is our guys doing that? Nice. Very impressed. But real quick, I talked to Madam Chair Dixon this past couple of weeks, and to our county manager. And I have sat in the New Mexico County's Board of Directors for a few years, on and off since I was elected back in the day. With my new job that or my new old job that I've had for a year now, it's very demanding. I'm going to be traveling a lot on behalf of Mental Health Resources, promoting our program. So with that, I don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to the Board of Directors at the state level, the New Mexico County's Board of Directors. So I would, well, before I go on, I want to thank all the elected officials for entrusting me for sitting in that board. But if I cannot give 100%, I contacted Joy, who's the Deputy Executive Director, Joy Sparson, and I let her know what the process would be for me to step down. I need to just email them, and then I think, Mandy, you're going to have to probably hold an election, but they're going to be contacting you. They'll be contacting you, Amber, as well. So that's the protocol. So with that, I am stepping down probably as by the end of this week. So you guys will have to elect a new board member to represent our county, which has to be an elected official. I know Tina has sat in, or Madam Chair has sat in as a proxy over the years since she's been elected as a county commissioner. She's real familiar. She has gone as a guest. Not that I'm being biased or anything, but she does know it, and I don't know if it could just be an appointment from the commission to finish off my term, or if y'all have to do an actual election. I guess you guys will find that out. So with that, I want to thank you guys again for entrusting in me, and if I can give 100% towards a board as strong as that one, then I'd rather not sit on it. And like I said, there's a lot on my plate right now, and I'd rather dedicate it to MHR and to our Roosevelt County as their county commissioner and step off of that board. Thank you.
Commissioner? Anybody else have anything? Okay. Moving on to new business. A request for approval of Arch Volunteer Fire's annual Pera reporting. Ms. Souls.
Hello again. Like to request approval for the Arch Volunteer Firefighters Annual PERA report. I believe it was in your packet. This is an annual report that must be sent in to PERA.
Right. I reviewed it, and I'll make a motion to approve. Got a motion and a second? Yes. Motion carries. Request or approval of Mill and Sand Volunteer Fire Annual Para Reporting.
Yes, ma'am. This was also in your packet for Mill and Sands PERA report.
Mhm.
Request approval.
And okay, got a motion and a second? Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Request for approval of Type 3A summary subdivision called the Villegas subdivision. Villegas.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Efren Villegas has applied for a Type 3 summary subdivision called the Villegas subdivision. This is a Type 3 summary subdivision containing 4 tracts of land. The minimum tract size is 1.724 acres, and the maximum tract is 1.726 acres in size. The total size of this summary subdivision is 6.901 acres and is classified as a type 3 summary subdivision in the Roosevelt County Subdivision Regulations 2017-6. The summary subdivision is in Section 9, Township 2 South, Range 35 East, and is located 352 feet northwest of the intersection South Roosevelt Road and New Mexico Highway 88. There are no dedicated internal roadways within this summary subdivision. All tracks have road frontage from New Mexico Highway 88. They all will have to apply for a driveway permit from the state and be constructed by state regulations and be inspected by state officials for the driveways. Each track owner will be responsible for the stormwater management that is generated from this property. The storm runoff is southeasterly from the said tracks, runs southeasterly from the said tracks. There are no protective covenants on this subdivision. It has been approved by the city of Portales. It does fall into the jurisdiction with the city also. There were no adverse opinions from anyone. The Vajali subdivision has met all the rules and regulations of the Roosevelt County subdivision ordinance. So I'm asking for your approval for this type 3A summary subdivision. I stand for any questions.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Mr. Lopez? Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Request for approval of letter of intent to New Mexico Department of Transportation regarding FY22 funding application. Mr. Lovato.
This is LGRF 2022 co-op school bus and caps. Just we're gonna send a letter of intent, just looking for y'all approval.
I'll second. We got a motion and a second. Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Media? Meeting adjourned.